Sunday morning, Millennium Auto Dealership was closed to the public, but I'm still up here to do the review on the Nissan Xtrail E-Power E4orce. Randall Fields didn't get time to clean it yet. He said, bro, you can't do a review on a dirty car. I said, hey, the people go understand. Because if I don't do it today, I won't get time next week. And he don't say buyers waiting in line already. And that's because these are going for $255,000, a steal of a deal. So I ran up there one time Sunday like we're doing a review dirty, bro. We can't wait to get it washed because I won't get to do it again. People are buying it out. So here it is, a 2022 Nissan Xtrail E-Power. Now even though it's a 2022 model year and it has been used, it's practically still brand new given the fact that it only has about 7,600 kilometers on your odometer. And that's why these vehicles are practically flying off the shelves. You are getting a larger vehicle in a Honda Vezel, more power, more room, a more commanding presence, better technology, for around the same price. People are literally leaping to get it. But starting from the front of it, as you can see, it's a complete redesign compared to the previous gen Nissan Xtrail. Practically nothing has been carried over except the name Xtrail. Even the badge has been redesigned. You have a new flatter badge compared to the previous generation Nissans. Now starting with the front, on top here is where your turn signals and daytime running lights are located. Below that are where your headlights are located. Both high beam and low beam are located within one assembly. This is what it looks like. They are all LEDs, both low beam and high beam. The turn signals, however, are not LEDs. So you have LEDs for the low beam, high beam, daytime running lights, but normal bulbs for the turn signals. But you can always switch that out after the fact. On either side of the front bumper, you have these air vents here and they are functional. I'm not sure what they are functional for. I am assuming it's to reduce air pressure building up in the front here while you're driving on the highway at highway speed. So the air will just like flow around there instead of building up to the front. Now on the side mirror, only the left hand side, you have this secondary mirror hanging down here, which will help you in tight spaces. If you're parking, you can see precisely where the wheels are. Now this doesn't have a 360 camera system, but if it did, this is usually where the camera for the side mirrors would sit, right where that mirror would be. So I'm assuming if you had the 360 camera system, that mirror would be redundant and it won't have it. Moving around back, you have one single reverse camera, and then you have a secondary camera that was installed after the fact up there, which I will show a bit later on. But at the rear, there's nothing too special to show. You have a third brake light on top, your rear wiper, your lighting assembly, you have your reverse camera right there, and that's about it. You have a hidden exhaust, so you're not seeing the exhaust there, but the exhaust is below there, hidden away. Now as we get a bit closer, you will see how truly dirty the vehicle is from just being on the ports and being shipped. But if I didn't do the review today, you all wouldn't have gotten it. So thank God for small mercies. Now when it comes to opening the tailgate, you have all the options. And by all the options I mean, you can either press the button inside the cabin to open it, or you can press the button on the tailgate itself and it opens up. You press the button again and it will close. If you don't like that option too much, you have your key fob. You can open and close it via the key fob. You hold down the button and there it goes opening. You hold down the button again and there it goes closing. If you don't like that option, you still have another option, which is to swipe your foot below and there it goes opening. So you have 4 ways just to open the tailgate. One button inside, one button on the tailgate. You can use the key fob or you can swipe your foot. So you have no reason to say your hands was full and you couldn't put nothing in the back here. You have options. Now let's talk about trunk space. In terms of liters, with the rear seats folded up, you have 575 liters. With the rear seats folded down, you have 945 liters. Given the fact that this is a hybrid vehicle and the hybrid components at the rear like the batteries and stuff takes up some of the floor space, it kind of brings the floor up, which reduces the amount of overall space you have in terms of ground to ceiling. The dimensions in terms of width and length are the same, but the ground to ceiling space, yeah, that has been taken up a bit by these components here. And just to state the obvious, there is no spare tire on board. You have a tire repair kit, an inflator, tools, your battery, other hybrid components, and that's about it. No spare tire. Spare tires in hybrid vehicles are like a unicorn. You'd already see that. But this shot here really illustrates how some of the floor space had to have been sacrificed to put these components here. Because when you drop this floor liner back down, this is where it sits, up here. But you can see there's at least about 7 or 8 inches of depth where the spare tire would normally be, where you can have more floor to ceiling space. But because of these components, the floor has to sit higher, which is why you have less space in here, even though it's a big SUV. On the left, you have one power outlet. It doesn't say if it's a 120, 190, or an 80 watt power outlet, but it's there. One thing I find is curiously missing is a light. Most vehicles have some type of trunk/boot lighting, but I couldn't find any here. I'm not sure why they would have not done it, but typical Nissan. Even when they're doing something good, they have to do something bad just because. It's like they can't just do good and leave it alone. On top here, you have what looks to be a backup camera. I could be wrong, it could be a built-in dash cam, but it looks to be a second backup camera because I know one was installed with the Android head unit, so it could be a secondary camera. Sticking with the back because there's much more to talk about. You can see these seats are pushed forward, and that's because the rear seats are on rails. This vehicle has a 7-seater variant, which is significantly more expensive for little benefit because let's be honest and be real here. No grown adult is going to fit in these two foolish rear seats. It's going to be 2 children. So unless you have a large family and you really need those 2 extra seats for the children while they are small, yeah, don't even bother. But this is what it looks like when you don't have the 7-seater variant. The seats to the front are still on rails. So you can pull it back, you can push it forward. It's pretty cool because it gives you that much more flexibility in case you have a large item but you don't really want to fold the rear seats down. You still want to have small passengers at the rear. You can just push them forward a bit and have a little bit more room at the rear. And they operate the exact same way as the front seats. It's a lever to the front. You pull it up, you push back, or you pull forward, and that's the adjustment there. But if you really want to fold the rear seats down, you can do so in the 60-40 split, or what I call the big side and the small side. You can do that. You can fold this side down, go across the other side, fold the other side down, and you can also pull this lever here, send back the seat a bit for a bit more recline, or you can have it more upright. Now, most vehicles that has foldable seats has this option, but most people don't even know about it. But if you want a bit more recline in the back, you can do so. If you pull that little lever string thing in the center there, you can get the center part to fold down, and you can have your cup holders separate from the rear seats folding down as a whole, which is pretty cool as well. But once they are down, you can't have anybody in the center there for obvious reasons. Even though, if you are a bit on the smaller side, you can still fit 3 persons at the back here. 2 on the left, 1 on the right. But those persons have to be a bit on the small side. They can't be fat like me and think you can fit 3 persons at the back here with that centerpiece folded down. But with it up, you can definitely fit 3 persons at the rear comfortable because it's a full-size SUV by Trinidad standards. So as you can see, I'm in the center, and you can put somebody to the right, put somebody in the left. I would think they gotta be big like me. They gotta be a bit smaller, but definitely comfortable at the back. Sticking with the back, yes, as you can see there, you have rear AC vents. Below that, you have a single USB output. It's not USB-C, but again, still functional. And as you can see, you have rear heated seats on both sides. Now, heated seats are something that people overlook in the Caribbean because they think it's hot, so you shouldn't want anything hotter. But when you get a bit older and your back starts to hurt, these heated seats are a lifesaver. Try it. Up top, you have your rear cabin lighting. It's not LEDs for some reason. I'm not sure why they didn't put it. Might just be a couple of cents more, but it didn't. You can put it in after the fact, but I will always say I like to see LEDs from the factory. But overall, at the rear, it's pretty comfortable, and you have more than enough space to fit 3 persons if you have to fit 3 persons at the rear. Now, let's move to the front. With the base of the front seat pushed all the way back, this is what the legroom looks like. I have ample legroom, but in any vehicle, front seat legroom is never really an issue. It's the rear seat passengers that's had a worry. So it's not an issue in smaller vehicles, and it's not going to be an issue in this vehicle. Now, as you all can see, I'm filming this review now in direct sunlight. The sun is beating down on the car. But if I didn't get it out now, I wouldn't have gotten it. So take the sunlight, sun is good. The dashboard, when it comes to soft touch materials, the front part here, soft touch material, like you're seeing, I can poke it and you're seeing it's going in. But the brown part behind is a type of hard plastic. So it's really not soft touch materials in the back there, but if you press on it, it does kind of go down. But the front part here, definitely soft touch materials. On the door, you have that same brown and black two-tone color scheme. On top here, hard plastic. In the middle here, soft touch materials, where your elbow rests on the hand rest there. Soft touch material as well. So it's a blend between soft touch materials and hard plastics. There's also a pass-through area here below the center console. I'm seeing more and more vehicles coming with that, and I think it's pretty good because you have some storage space below there. One confusing thing though, and I'm sure they have a good reason for it, but I couldn't figure it out. I thought I knew what it was, but I guess I was wrong. The glove box is smaller than the actual door for the glove box. As you can see, there's whole part to the left here, which I assumed at first was like a fuse box area or something, but I couldn't get it to come out. So it's just there. And then you have this small glove box that is more right leaning or right centered. And I'm not understanding why they couldn't just make the glove box the whole width of the door. That to me, if it's really a fuse box, then it's conveniently placed. But if it's not a fuse box or a fuse entry point or anything, I don't understand why they would do this and just make the glove box extra small. Sticking with storage, you do have a center console. Obviously, it opens up in two halves. You pull up this lever to the front here, which took me a while to figure out, but you pull up and it opens up in two halves. You can close down one half and have one half open if you're into that. I'm not sure why you would be into that, but yes, it opens up in two halves and it closes back in two halves as well. Moving forward, you have your gear selector, which is practically almost the same as the Nissan Notes gear shifter. You have your little lever there, pull back, you push up, you push down that button for park. Behind that, you have your park and brake, and you have your auto hold. To the front of that, you have your EV mode, which will force the vehicle to drive in EV mode for as long as possible. And to the right of that, you have your E-pedal, which is essentially a one-pedal driving, where if you activate that, you lift your foot off the gas and the car will start slowing down more using regen, which I will demonstrate later on in the video. Moving further up, you have a small part there, which in certain models would be a wireless charger. Above that, you have a USB output, your start-stop button, which is inconveniently placed if you ask me. And to the left, you have another unmarked power outlet. It could be 120 watts, it could be 200 watts, we don't know, but the power outlet is there. Above that, you have your climate controls and front heated seats. So aside from having rear heated seats, which is something that is very uncommon at this price point, normally when you get it at the front, you have front and rear heated seats, and you have a heated steering wheel control button right there. So you can have a heated steering wheel if you have like arthritis and stuff like that. Moving up, you have your AC vents. You all know what AC vents look like. Above that, you have your aftermarket Android head unit. I'm sure all of you know what this is. It's a head unit that is powered by Android. So just think a tablet, but in your vehicle. So anything your phone or your tablet can do, this can do. As you can see, it's pretty responsive, it's pretty snappy, no lag. Above that, you have two vanity mirrors, passenger and driver, both are illuminated, but non-LEDs though. You have to put that in after the fact. In the center, you have what most call a shade holder or a glasses holder, and behind that, you have your standard lighting controls. You can either set it to be on or off when the door is open or closed, or you can have the left side on or the right side on. On the driver's door, you have your typical controls that will be found there. Starting from the top, you have your door lock unlock, you have your mirror controls, you have your power folding mirror options. Below that, you have your 4 window controls and your window controls lockout. But it has something that I love very much. You already know I'm going to get to that. One touch up down on all 4 glasses. Not just one touch up down on the driver or the driver and passenger, but on all 4 glass. At a touch, it can go up, it can go down. Imagine you had tint and you see a roadblock coming. Some people are fighting up, you put on one, you wait for it to go down, you put on the next one, you wait for it to go down, you'll be using 4, 5, 6, 7 fingers. No, you just push up or push down, and look at this, all of them just drops. Very convenient. The back doesn't go all the way down though, but small thing. Not having one touch up down on all 4 glass in 2024 should be illegal. Moving a bit further into the right of the steering wheel, you have some more typical controls. Starting with the bottom right, you have this control toggle switch here, which dims or brightens the instrument cluster. So you push it to the right for bright, you push it to the left for dim. As you can see here, it's brightening and dimming. To the right of that, you have your inside trunk release. So you push that, the trunk will either open or close. And above that, to the center, you have your steering icon. This turns on the steering assist, either on or off at a glance. Now, you can also adjust this in the menu, which I will show later on, but this is just on the fly. You just press it, and it turns it on, it turns it off. To the right of that, you have your trip reset, that is self-explanatory. And then to the right of that, you have a headlight adjustment. Right now, it's set to 0, but it's a rotary dial, so you can go from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and it adjusts the beam on the headlights out front. So you can either tilt it up or down. Next, you have your multifunction steering wheel that has all your controls, volume up, down, next track, previous track. You have your hands-free button, you have your trip reset, you have your menu. Everything can be controlled by the left and right buttons. Behind that, you have your typical controls. On the left, you have your wiper stalk, and on the right, you have your lighting stalk. This is your high beam, low beam indicators, but this is a Nissan, so you all don't use indicators anyway, so forget about that option. And then further back, you have your all digital instrument cluster. You can see the safety features up on your screen there. You have your blind spot warning, fall collision warning and avoidance, and your lane keeper assist. But let's get deeper into the menu now, because within this menu, you have sub-menus. You can read speed limit signs. You go into the menu here, you have your lane keeper assist, you can go into that. You can turn the warning on or off, the intervention on or off, or the vibration high low, medium, or on and off. If the intervention is on, it should pull you back into lane. If the warning is on, it's just going to go beep, 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 unless you know you're drifting. You have your blind spot, same thing, warning or intervention. You have emergency assist. In that, you have your emergency braking, which you can turn on or off. Now this, if it's on, should stop the vehicle if it sees an accident is about to happen. Below that, you have something called pedal misapplication. Now reading up on it, essentially what it does is up to speeds of 25 kilometers per hour. If you are applying the wrong pedal input, like let's say, I don't know, you are heading towards a wall and you hit the accelerator pedal instead of the brake, it will apply the brake for you and vice versa. I'm not sure how many people this happens to, but it clearly has to be a lot for it to be a whole feature in here. There are other settings in here, for example, like I said before, speed limit sign recognition, so the vehicle could read speed limit signs. You can set your following distance. You can even adjust the instrument cluster. Look at how it looks now. Now, one thing I find this should have been incorporated in is when you put it in sport mode, this should have changed automatically with sport mode, but it doesn't. So you can change between that one that you just saw and this one. Personally speaking, I prefer this one more than the other one, but some may prefer this one. But if you prefer this one, sucks to you, because this is my review, so you're going back to this one. Aside from that, you have other menu options here. You have your audio source. Now this one is blank for now because it's an aftermarket head unit. Driver assistance, you went through that already. Here you have this small screen to the left. You can adjust what you see here. So right now you have your trip. You can put gear position, average speed, or your brake light. When the brake light option is activated, it will show a mini Xtrail, and whenever the brake light turns on, you will see it there. Just so you know that the brake lights are functioning correctly. Now there are many other menus I can't get into here for time reasons, but there's one particular menu that I love, and for some reason Nissan, the brand I don't like the most, seems to be the only manufacturer from Japan that is doing it on the roll and roll off market, and that is this menu here, unit and language. When you go into here, it gives you the option to change everything from Japanese to English, something I think should be just basic, but for some reason Toyota doesn't do it, Honda doesn't do it, Mazda doesn't do it. How hard would it be to give us a simple option to change from Japanese to English on the dashboard? You have people out there who don't even know their car going to shut down because they can't read Japanese. Like that telling you, hey, warning, pull aside. And all you see is scribbles. You don't know what's going on, and boom, you're in a ball of fire. Come on. More manufacturers jump on this train. Give us the option to change the language from Japanese to English. Nissan is doing it, so I know you all can do it as well. Here you are seeing a power flow representation of what is going on. The engine is currently on. It's generating current to charge the battery. So right now the battery was being charged. But now let's take the Xtrail out on the road and see how it performs. From the time I started driving the Nissan Xtrail E-Power, I quickly realized that my suspicions were confirmed, and that is, it's a bigger version to the Nissan Note E-Power, which isn't a bad thing. If you all saw the review I did on the Nissan Note E-Power, it was a good review. I loved the way that vehicle drove. I just said it was too small for me personally. This is that, but in a bigger package, in that it feels refined. And I have to make sure and explain myself when I use that word, because it's not something that I would have ever said about a Nissan 5, 10, 15 years ago, because you all know my feelings about Nissan. But clearly they are trying, in that this vehicle is big, but it doesn't feel big. And that's because of the e-power technology. It's essentially an electric vehicle. I will keep hammering that home. It's essentially an electric vehicle. The only difference between this and, let's say, a Tesla or an all-electric vehicle is that rather than having to plug it in, it generates its own current using the engine on board. The engine on board is just a generator, which means from 0 to whatever your end goal speed is, you are always running in electric mode. You would hear the engine rev up, but that's only to meet the demands of the added power needed to accelerate. So the more you accelerate, the engine will rev up to match that. Now let's talk a bit about the engine, starting with what it sounds like when it's just on generating current at idle. What this is a 1.5 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine, which is deceptively simple. There's so much technology packed into this engine that I'm going to make a separate video just about this engine. In terms of total output, the Nissan Xtrail E-Power has 201 horsepower with 225 foot-pounds of torque. Now remember, we are not talking about the engine here. The engine is just there to generate electricity to power the motor or the batteries. We are talking about the electronic components here. 201 horsepower, 225 foot-pounds of torque. Now notice I said motors and not motor. This is a dual motor setup. This is part of Nissan's E4orce technology, which we're going to get into here now. Starting with the fact that it has dual motors, one to the front that powers the 2 front wheels and one to the rear that powers the 2 rear wheels, which makes the Nissan Xtrail E-Power an all-wheel drive vehicle. It has off-roading capabilities, not like you'll be taking it off-road, but if you do have to take it off-roading, it has all-wheel drive capabilities. Which brings you back to this dial that I purposely left out earlier on in the video. This dial allows you to change between the different drive modes of the Xtrail. You can go from off-roading to auto, snow, eco, and all the way to the right, you have the sport option. When you put it in sport, it gives maximum power to all 4 wheels at the same time. This is what it looks like when you are accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. Are that going in now? So it goes without saying, yes, the Xtrail really moves. It can pull its weight. And the good thing is that it's all-wheel drive. Most times with most modern SUVs, you get them front-wheel drive. And what happens is when you put the power down, you start getting skidding, traction control intervenes, which limits your pull-off. In this case, traction control didn't even have to intervene because all 4 wheels were putting on power at the same time. Granted, this is a hot sunny day. If you're on a wet road, traction control may have to intervene. But generally speaking, even on dry sunny days like this one, when I'm testing other vehicles that are front-wheel drive, you tend to get some type of skidding when you are under heavy acceleration. But there's even more. The E4orce technology goes beyond just having all-wheel drive, which gives you better traction in snow and mud and off-roading, and even when taking corners, because it is able to brake the inner wheels when you are taking corners to keep the vehicle from skidding out. Those things have been around for a long time. But Nissan has also bundled in something that other manufacturers doesn't have. Now it's going to seem a bit complicated at first, but once you wrap your head around it, it's going to be really easy to understand. Look at the side profile of any vehicle. You're going to observe the front rotors are always bigger than the rear rotors. It's the same in cars, it's the same in trucks, it's the same in everything. The front always has bigger brakes than the rear because most of your braking power comes from the front, whether it's 75-25, 60-40. The front, because of how the weight distribution is, most of your braking force is to the front. Get that? Right. So when you step on the brake, what tends to happen? The front of the vehicle tends to dip down. This is primarily because of weight distribution and weight transfer. So the weight when you're just driving is level. When you step on the brake, your weight tends to go forward, so the front of the vehicle dips down. Now apparently some people tend to get motion sickness from this, and it's an uncomfortable drive on long rides. So what Nissan did, because it's all-wheel drive, if you look at the picture above, you could see the front wheels are doing most of the braking and the front dip down because the vehicle wants to rotate around its center axis. If you look at the bottom with the E4orce, the back is doing most of the braking in that example. Now in the promotional video, you see the woman put her foot on the brake and you see how the vehicle is able to stop flat. Now again, this is at moderate speeds. If you are going quickly enough, the vehicle will pitch. But without the E4orce, you can see the regular motion of the vehicle pitching forward and rocking back. Now to be honest, I have never faced this issue where I'm braking and I'm like, wait, but if only somebody could find a way to make this vehicle pitch forward less, unless you have dead shocks to the front. But this is just engineers showing off because they could do it. Now that we have these electric vehicles and we have dual motor setups like this, you are able to modulate each wheel more precisely than you would in a normal regular vehicle. So this is just them showing off and flexing their prowess. And as somebody who's in the technology, I am here for it. One last thing I want to demonstrate is the E-pedal. When you turn that on, when you take your foot off the gas, the regen is so strong it acts like brakes. So you don't have to use your brakes while just driving in and around town or in traffic. You just take your foot off the gas and the vehicle will slow down. So I want to take my foot off the gas now. And it's smart. Not only does the brake light turn on at the rear to let persons know that you are mashing your brake, even though you are not mashing your brake, but it's letting them know you are slowing down. The faster you take your foot off the gas, the harder the regen will kick in. So the faster it will slow down. As you can see here, it brought me down to about 10 kilometers per hour. And if you look at the flow chart, you can see exactly where the power is going. When I take my foot off the accelerator pedal, you can see the wheels are now sending power back into the battery. And when I get in the accelerator pedal, you can see the engine kick in, and the engine is now sending power into the battery, which is powering the motors, which are turning the wheels. But I can safely say, without a doubt, this is one of the vehicles that I actually got upset that it came at the time it came. If it came a few months from now, I would have bought one. Because for $255, this is a steal of a deal. You know, you all are vessel crazy, but not only are you getting a much larger vehicle, you are getting a more capable vehicle, you are getting a vehicle that has more technology packed into it. You have dual motors instead of one. It has a bit more power, and it's just overall a better vehicle. It might be a better brand of vehicle, but it's just a better vehicle. It's just upsetting that this $255 deal came when I am broke. 4 or 5 months from now, after I sort of my insurance issue with our Fielder wagon, I would have definitely cop one of these. Because the only two things I can think about that the Vezel Play has over this would be a sunroof and a 360 camera. Everything else this vehicle has, but bigger, which makes it a better bike because it's around the same price.